I understand the president is on the phone now, and I want to go to him straight away. Mr. President, we're delighted to have you with us on the broadcast, and we hope that you can stay with us a while to go through all of these issues. But my first question would be, at what point do you expect the Democrat Party to align itself with the national interest and the welfare of American citizens?
Well, maybe the point of great success. We were at that point where we had a tremendous, nobody covered it better than you, Lou, and we had a tremendous economy. We had the best employment numbers, best stock market numbers, although they're catching up. We're very close. But we had the best numbers that you've ever seen and the best numbers anybody's ever seen. Probably the best numbers ever for an economy, beating China badly, beating everybody badly. And they were coming along because they weren't able to fight that. And the COVID actually, now they try and, play that game. But they were very close. There's nothing like success for bringing people together. Sometimes they don't want to necessarily come for that reason, but we were getting much closer. And this came, and now, I don't know if you heard some of the numbers on cars and manufacturing, but some of the numbers released yesterday and today were absolutely incredible, beyond anybody's belief.
We are seeing some remarkable numbers with an economy that has, at one point, was all but shut down by the China virus. We have seen now new voices arise saying to you that, Mr. President, you should shut down the economy again. I don't know where the Federal Reserve gets these people, Mr. President, but Neil Kashkari, the president of the Minneapolis Fed, saying that we need to shut down the entire economy for 4 to 6 weeks, saying that we have plenty of money to sustain the economy through such a closure. It's remarkable, the voices that are chiming in to say, shut down the economy. It's as if they haven't been paying attention for the past 4 or 5 months.
Well, that's not going to happen, Lou. What we did is we were, as we said, setting records in every way, and then we got hit by the plague. I call it the China plague, China virus, call it whatever you want. It's got like 20 different names. And we got hit hard, and we did close up. We had to close it up, and we did the right thing. We saved millions of lives, Lou. We would have had millions of lives. We have a number now which is unacceptable, but every number, anything more than one person is unacceptable because they could have stopped it. They could have stopped it from coming in. You say it all the time. They stopped it from coming into China, but they didn't stop it from here, Europe, and the rest of the world. So we closed it down, and we're now opening it up, and it looks like it's a V. It's absolutely a V. But we're not going back to shutdowns now. We understand the disease. We understand the problems with elderly, especially elderly with heart or diabetes or other problems, and we're able to take care of them. We understand it now, but we're not shutting down. We've done really very well. The numbers are looking very good, by the way, in Florida, Texas, and California. They're heading down.
Right. Right. And a lot of people don't realize those numbers, the combination between Florida and Texas never rose to a significant portion of the deaths in New York State. To the point of opening this economy, Anthony Fauci, one of your doctors on the task force, saying that, finally acknowledging very clearly and somewhat loudly that you saved lives and a great number of American lives by shutting down travel from China. Finally, a clear statement by Fauci on that particular issue. There are other ambiguities that he's left hanging, but that one, finally, he is being direct and forthright. But speaking of Fauci, he is also acknowledging that schools, not all of them, but most schools, need to reopen. The economy needs to be reopened. You're also getting support for that initiative. You were standing absolutely alone, saying we've got to reopen the economy. Now the Secretary General of the United Nations is joining in to say, absolutely, open up the economy, put the kids in schools, because it could be otherwise a generational disaster for the entire world. Your thoughts?
Well, we are opening the economy very rapidly, and frankly, some of the blue states, we wish they'd do it, and they'd do it fast. We're asking them to do it. But they like to keep it closed. It'll probably open up on November 4th. You understand that? They'll announce that they're opening on November 4th. There's a lot of politics involved in some of these states that are closed. It's, let's say, Democrat governors were being kind. We'll say Democrat governors, some radical left and maybe some not so radical left, but they're all Democrats. And frankly, they want to keep it closed, I think, as long as possible. Maybe for some good reasons, but maybe also for political reasons. But we want it open. We want the schools open, Lou. You know, young people have better immune systems than we do, Lou. I hate to tell you this. And they are in very good shape, virtually immune from this disease. They're incredible. The strength of their, probably you have to give the credit to their immune system. It's called being young. And yet with the flu and various other things, they don't do so well. So, you know, somebody will explain that someday perhaps. But they certainly for the China virus, they do very well. They do very, very well. So we want to open the schools. We are going to be opening most of the schools. The parents, generally speaking, want them open. And we want to do it safely, Lou. We want to get them open safely. But we want the whole deal opening. We want people starting to go to the office and starting to work. And I have to say, despite that, the numbers have been very, very good. We have a big number coming out on Friday. I believe it will be Friday, and that's going to be another jobs number. The last two have been incredible. They've been record-setting numbers, so 7.5 million jobs. And we have another number coming up, the third one under, you know, after this whole catastrophe, and that'll be coming up, I believe, on Friday.
Yes, and that unemployment rate will be followed by everyone. It will be one of the measures by which the reopening of the economy is being judged, without question. As you talk about the schools, it's interesting that we have such a politicized, deeply partisan divide in this country that is finding expression even in the education of our children. And in particular for minorities in this country, this will be a tremendous backstep for them because they need desperately education. Our public schools are the great equalizer in our society, and to defer their education is absolutely outrageous. And for the Democrats to pretend that they're doing this for the American people is absurd. These radical Dems and the Federation of Teachers and the National Education Association, the two largest teachers unions, seem to be on the front of wanting not to work and wanting not to be in the classroom teaching those who need education most, our young people.
Well, that's as you know, that's a very political group, and they want to see if they can get Biden in there. And I don't know if you saw Rasmussen was yesterday 51%. We were at 51%.
Yep.
And maybe, I don't know, almost more importantly, that strongly favor. This is a number people don't see very often, but 40% strongly favor. That means they're really committed. That means they're enthusiastic. We have tremendous record-setting enthusiasm on our side, and they have record-setting lack of enthusiasm. They've never had anybody so unenthusiastic. It's an amazing thing. It's a very unenthusiastically endorsed candidate. So we'll see what happens. You know, you never know. It's election, but I think we have more than we've ever had. We went down, as you know, to Texas 3 days ago, and we had literally tens of thousands of people on the roadways with the flags and the whole thing. I mean, they were going wild. And then we went to Florida on Friday. All of the sheriffs of Florida and law enforcement endorsed me 100%. Texas also, by the way. But, you know, when you think of it, he's against that group. And it's not him. He's told what to do. He's a puppet for the radical left. But when you think about it, they're against oil and gas, they're against guns, and I guess they're against God, okay? But they're against religion, they're against the Bible, certainly. I mean, you look at what they say. But if you're against oil, if you're against the guns and you're against the Bible, and then you're supposed to win Texas, I don't think that's working out too well. So I was with the governor of Texas. He said, no, you have a very tremendous lead. You know, they like to say Texas is in play, but yeah, how can you be against oil and gas and guns and lots of other things and you're in place? So these polls are fake. I had it. You know better than anybody. You've been so incredible. I'll tell you what, number one, you're a talented guy. I wouldn't want to have you as my enemy, that I can tell you, but you are one hell of a man. and you've been there from the beginning, and we really appreciate it. That's why I do things with you, and I don't bother with others. But when you look at the kind of polls we get, and I had the same thing last time. But the real polls and the internal polls are really fantastic. And when you take into consideration the enthusiasm and also the fact that a lot of people just don't want to get involved. You saw the one poll, I think it said 62% of the people don't want to either get involved or say who they're voting for. So how do you do a poll? So I think you're going to have a big surprise. I think we have actually much more enthusiasm and many more people than we had in 2016. Mm-hmm. We'll take 2016 right now, but I think the enthusiasm level, I mean, you would know better than I think the enthusiasm level is at a number that people haven't seen before, not in a long time.
Yeah, I think there's an almost 30-point gap between Republican enthusiasm for Donald Trump and those Democrats for Joe Biden. It's really a tremendous deficit for Biden to overcome.
Right.
Sir?
It's a record. It's a record gap on enthusiasm. And, I feel it when you see thousands, tens of thousands of people on these highways in Texas. And we went to Maine. And we had unbelievable crowds. Nobody's ever seen crowds like that in Maine. And we went to other places. I mean, Pennsylvania. We were in Pennsylvania, Tennessee. No matter where we go, the level of enthusiasm, they meet you at the plane, and literally as far as the eye can see, the people are along the roadways. It's a beautiful thing to see. There's tremendous spirit in our country, tremendous spirit.
And that spirit is expressed in a number of ways, but one certainly is the market itself. We are, as you alluded to earlier, watching this market move forward, advance, and stocks appreciate significantly despite the setbacks that have occurred, despite the level of fear that the radical left, it seems, is very involved in encouraging. It's really quite something to watch because we've never gone through this before, and you are leading the nation in a direction that I think most Americans, if they could vote right now, would say that's the way we want to go. This is a nation, you promised that you would restore prosperity. You not only promised that, you promised you'd restore prosperity for all Americans. We saw net worth of black households in this country soar to record highs. We saw the unemployment rates for all minorities move to record lows before the China virus. When you reflect on it, what is your sense? Because the relationship without question with China is complex and difficult. When you reflect on all of this, what is your thought about China and the prospects for the relationship going forward?
Well, it's been very badly hurt by what happened because I really believe they could have stopped it in Wuhan, and I feel strongly about that. And it's certainly been very badly hurt. The farmers will tell you over the last few days they ordered a record amount of corn, a record amount of soybeans, numbers that have never been literally a record. I heard it was a record corn order and a record soybean order.
Right.
They're buying. I made a trade deal, and it's a wonderful deal. But after this happened, I don't feel the same about the deal. We did USMCA, too, with Mexico, Canada. I feel that's been a great deal because that took the place of probably the worst trade deal ever made, NAFTA, which was just a horrible deal, emptied out our factories. But the USMCA is a great deal. The deal with China was a great deal, but I don't feel the same way as I did. Look, we've lost 160,000 people. We're going to lose more. We would have lost millions had I just let it ride, as the expression go. We could have lost millions at the same time. Can you imagine with all of the death, and now you multiply that number times 10, 15, or even 20, it would have been unsustainable and unacceptable. But this was caused by China, and so it certainly has had a negative impact. I had a really great relationship with President Xi, as good as you can have, I would suggest, but it's been such a horrible, horrible thing when you see everyone walking around now with masks and you see all the death and you see what's happened to this country, but really to the world. I mean, if you look at the world is, some countries have been just literally devastated. Look at Europe. Look at what happened to Italy and Spain and France and all of these countries, they were just devastated by this, and it could have been stopped. So it certainly has had an impact. TikTok is one thing that we're doing, and we just, I don't know, maybe I would have done that anyway. I don't know. It could have been affected by this. Huawei, I've stopped Huawei from coming into this country. I mean, there were some false reports. I actually called the great Lou Dobbs to tell him, by the way, you have one report wrong. You were sort of indicating that I was allowing it in. No, I wasn't allowing it in. In fact, we're actually taking down equipment where they have Huawei equipment bought years and years ago, long before my time. And we're actually taking it down off the top of towers and things all over the country. No, I turn it, and I've gotten many countries not to buy it too, because we think it's a very big security risk. So I don't know. Maybe I wouldn't be the same. Maybe I wouldn't feel the same. Maybe I'd sort of close a blind eye. But you know what? It is what it is. It's been a horrible, horrible thing. And again, we never did. We had the greatest year in the history of the world, if you think of it, not just this country.
Yep.
There's never been a country that did better than us last year. And now we're fighting back. And now it looks like it's a V based on the auto sales, based on a lot of different things. I don't know if you saw used car sales. You can't even get a used car now, which is a big indicator, by the way. But you look at manufacturing numbers, and it'll be interesting to see what happens on Friday. I don't know the answer yet, but we'll find out on Friday. And jobs, another jobs number. But it looks very certainly like we're going to have a V, a very strong V. I'm dealing with Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer, and we're trying to get some real good money to take care of people that should be taken care of and helped. The problem is they're more interested in taking care of, let's say, Democrats who did a very poor job running a state. You know the states I'm talking about. There's a number of them where they're run by Democrats, some radical left. You look at what's been going on in Portland. And by the way, the Wall Street Journal gave us a great editorial that Trump wins in Portland. I sent a whole group of very, very tough, very talented people there to protect, can you believe it, a courthouse, a major federal courthouse from being burned to the ground, torn down, decimated, and we saved that very easily, frankly. And we helped them beyond that, and we could solve that problem totally very quickly and easily, but we're not doing that as of yet. But it's been a very big victory in Portland. It's been a big victory in Seattle. We were going to send in the troops. I had mentioned that once here before. We're all set to send them in, and they did it instead, which is the way it's supposed to be. It's supposed to be done locally, but they knew we were coming the following morning, and it worked out very well. These guys just raised up their head. The anarchists and the agitators, they were exhausted, and they just held up their hands and gave up. But we've had tremendous success, and I think next year is going to be one of the best years we've ever had, Lou. But in the meantime, you can never forget the death, and you can never forget all of the tremendous amounts of money we've needed to put back into our country to keep it going well, to keep it going the way it should.
And the direction is decidedly the correct one. The quibbling and the detractors that are with you 24/7 from the left are really right now operating in a way that I find incomprehensible. Because this is a time for the national interest. And we're not hearing from other leaders, that is CEOs, corporate leaders, who could be influencing the Democratic Party, who could be influencing the left. And instead, many of them are supporting left-wing organizations, including Black Lives Matter, who are bringing anarchy and violence to our streets. It is a peculiar time for the leadership of corporate America as well, and particularly because, in addition, they are the ones who own the fake news outlets that you refer to so often and correctly with some bitterness, if I may say. It is those companies could change all of this in a matter of days. Do you find it's just absolutely stunning that they will not rise to the occasion?
Well, I find a company like Comcast, I don't call it Com, it's C-O-M, but I call it C-O-N because there's a whole big con job. They own NBC and MSDNC, and I find that company to be a disgrace, and they could heal the wounds because, what's wrong with having strong military, low taxes, great school, great protection, good, strong police forces so you don't get hurt. Suburbia strong. I ended that horrible rule where they were building low-income housing in the middle of the suburbs right next to your house and really destroying a lot of families and a lot of the American dream, and I ended it. They wanted to change it. I said, nope, you got to end it. That's been going on for a long time. Got much worse under Obama and would have gotten much worse. Cory Booker was going to take it over, so you can imagine how that would have been. That would have been a disaster with him. He was another great presidential candidate that ended up getting out with 0% of the vote. So, it's one of those things, Lou, but I will tell you this. What I've done is I'm fighting some of these companies. I'm fighting now Big Pharma, and I'm going to a favored nations clause. Germany, and we have countries that get drugs for a tiny fraction of what we pay. We pay for all of the cost, all of the research and development, all of the everything. And you'll have a pill, as an example, that will sell for pennies, and we pay dollars. Our people have to pay big dollars for them. And so what I'm doing is I've instituted a favored nations clause, which is tough. That's very tough. That means if let's say, just to use it as a name, let's say Germany or let's say UK gets their medicines and gets their prescription drugs for a very low price, and we're paying a very high price, we now get the same price as the lowest country anywhere in the world. You're talking about 50, 60, 70% reductions in price and more. You're talking about nobody's ever done that. Plus, they have the rebate rule where we get all the rebates. You've always heard in the drug thing, very complex pricing structure, but it's really a ripoff. The rebate now goes toward reducing the price and goes to the people. And then we also have the right to buy from foreign countries, like Canada, as an example. It buys drugs for half the price of wheat. So we're going to buy some of the drugs directly from Canada because we get through all of the red tape, and I've authorized that they can do it. So Florida, as an example, I think Ron DeSantis will be the first one to do it. He's going to buy a lot of the drugs. Going to save 40, 50, 60% by buying the drug from Canada. It's ridiculous, but still, I don't care. The prices comes way down for the identical drug, same exact drug. So, I wouldn't say that Big Pharma is in love with me. They're taking commercials all over the place trying to, hurt me politically, and I don't care. They don't do anything for me. I don't need their money. A lot of politicians do, to be honest with you. But the favored nations clause will reduce drug prices massively. And just one thing, first time in 51 years last year that drug prices came down. So no other president got them down, but that's peanuts compared to what we're talking about now. Now we're talking about price reductions of 50, 60, 70% in prescription drugs. Nobody ever thought that was possible. Favored nations, nobody else would have done it, Lou.
I think you're right. It's also one of the great advantages of having a populist in the White House, because we know you're for the people. The people put you in office, and not Big Pharma or the special interests that somehow find you, uncooperative with some of their policies, and the Chamber of Commerce in particular. So as we look at what you're accomplishing, it's truly been a remarkable 3.5 years, because no one has faced the opposition you have, the national threats that you have, and for this country to be where we are, I think it's straightforwardly accurate to say we're very fortunate to have you in the White House, and I think most of America, including, we call them the silent majority. In point of fact, the left is intimidating people to such an extent. They're really the silenced majority. But you give them voice, and the American people are truly, I believe, grateful, and will express that come November 3rd. We'll see. The polls that have you back behind a bit are actually kind of mild compared to the polls that had you being trampled in 2016. So I don't think anyone's too worried about that, least of all you, particularly as your approval ratings
the polls are
going
looking
forward.
Good. The internal polls have been fantastic, and Rasmussen has already turned around, and they were very accurate last time, and we're leading in the Rasmussen poll. And by the way, we built the wall. The wall is 275 miles now, Lou. We'll be at 500 miles long, which is what we wanted by the end of the year. And I can't imagine the Chamber of Commerce being against it, but they fought me. The Chamber of Commerce fought me. And think about if we didn't have the wall. We're setting record low numbers on the border. And when people come in illegally, we bring them out. We want people to come in illegally. But you would think, and because of the pandemic, because, as you know, Mexico is very, very heavily infected, because of the wall, we're not getting a huge negative impact from Mexico, which is a tremendous thing. So a lot of good things are happening. You'd think the Chamber of Commerce would be extremely happy with the job I'm doing, but they're coming from a different side of the plate.
Absolutely. And as we are approaching a limit on our time, I just do want to get to the issue of William Barr, the Attorney General's investigation, John Durham, of Obamagate. So much is in the public eye now that it is clear that there was a conspiracy in the Obama era, intelligence agencies to overthrow your presidency. Before that, to block your election outright.
100%.
Your thoughts about whether that investigation will result in charges before the election?
So we caught President Obama and Biden spying on the campaign. Biden was even saying using the Logan Act, which is exactly what they used on Flynn. They used the Logan Act, and they had it down in writing in a White House meeting where President Obama and Vice President Biden were there. Biden suggested the Logan Act, which I understand very well, but General Flynn probably didn't. But they used it on him very, very terribly. What they've done to him and so many other people, they've destroyed their lives. I caught them, and we caught them spying using the intelligence apparatus of our country to spy on an opponent's or the opposing party's campaign, both before and after the election. How about after the election? I had already won, and now they wanted to get,
right.
That was the insurance policy, Lou. We're going to get him out in case she loses. We're going to use the insurance policy, a famous quote from Peter Strzok and his lover, Lisa Page. You remember that beauty? So that was the story. We caught them spying. Now it's up to our Attorney General. As you know, I've wanted them to do it. I didn't want to get overly involved. Maybe I should, maybe I shouldn't. But I do hear it's breathtaking what they found. That's all I can say, breathtaking. And hopefully it'll come out soon. But it's beyond what anybody ever thought even possible, how bad it is. How bad it is and how corrupt it is. But I'm going to let them do that. I'm not going to do that. It's a horrible thing that took place, and it should never be allowed to happen to another president.
Absolutely, without question. And your administration, you promised would be transparent, and you have done your level best to do that, despite the deep state's efforts to bury everything about as deeply as they could. But I've got one question as we conclude here, because actually a lot of my friends are very concerned about what the federal government is doing when it comes to UFOs. So if I could just ask you, are you going to commit more resources to exploring UFOs and open the documents to the public?
Well, I think you're probably in this country, you're the UFO expert. So I'm going to be totally guided by the great Lou Dobbs, and I will tell you that I'll do whatever you ask me to do, including total transparency. And I got to tell you, there's probably some pretty good transparency needed there. There's no doubt about that.
Well, Mr. President, I couldn't have asked for a better answer. Thank you so much, and I'll be calling your office soon to get that underway. It's been great talking with you, sir, and we appreciate your time, Mr. President. Great to have you with us.
It's my
President
great honor.
Donald Trump.
You've done a fantastic job.
Thank you, sir.
Lou. Thank you very much. Bye.
Thank you for the kind words. Thank you, Mr. President.